Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host Malik. It is officially game day, the first time that we could officially say that on here for the regular season. We got the Grizzlies taking on the Pelicans at FedEx Forum tonight at 7 o'clock. Shown on local TV, FanDuel Sports Network. This is what they call it. I'm not saying all that. But yeah, we got some things to talk about before tip off that I really wanted to get into because I really feel like it's important and it's actually something that I think y'all would find interesting. So, first off, we have a tweet that dropped yesterday from Lane Whitaker. He works with the Grizzlies and Grind City Media. Basically, he put out a tweet saying that Ja Morant is going to be wearing ankle braces. He was wearing them in shoot around, and from what we heard from Ja as well, basically saying that he's going to be wearing them, and then he's going to be wearing them open tonight. So very good sign to hear because one thing about Ja, we've definitely been monitoring his injuries, and to hear him say that he's going to be wearing it for this season, that's a very good sign. Definitely lets you know that him and the training staff are being serious about his future when it comes to injuries because we know that Ja Morant has dealt with some ankle injuries, one being in the play-in last year, and then just over the course of time, the lower leg injuries have really got him pretty badly. Obviously, he's been injured in other areas, but you can only control what you can, and one of those being the ankles. Very good idea considering the Ja shoe is a low-cut shoe, very popular and polarizing shoe. Absolutely love it, but at the same time, you do have to watch out for the injury risk when it comes to that shoe, and it seems like they're finally paying attention to that, which is good because you need Ja Morant this season. You need him to play the minimum of games that it would take to qualify for things, and not just for the awards, but just for the fact that the team can play its best to win it best throughout the entire season. Can't play your best if you don't have your best player, and that's just the reality of it. So definitely good to see that Ja is taking the extra precautions that he needs to be able to stay healthy and essentially play as much of the season as he can. So that's one thing right there. Another good thing right here, the Grizzlies PR put out a statement. I'm gonna pull it right here. The team announced that they essentially are giving Zach Edey his extension pretty early. The team exercises 2026-27 rookie scale contract option on center Zach Edey. And it just kind of go into detail of like what he's done. Led rookies last year with a 58% field goal rating, 8.3 rebounds and 3.5 offensive rebounds last season, and fourth in blocks. And he averaged 9.2 points. All this in 66 games. So good to see that they are big on Zach Edey for right now because they really see him as a franchise cornerstone. And I'm actually reading right here. It says Edey became the first rookie to lead the Grizzlies in rebounding over the course of a season since Marc Gasol. That's pretty big right there. That's a long time. But yeah, honestly, I like it. I think Edey can develop to be a much better player than what he is now. It's just a matter of can they really do that? Can the Grizzlies do that? Is really my thing. So that's something that we really have to see because we do have a tendency to see rookies kind of flame out that first year. That second year we give them a chance, and then that third year is kind of rocky from there. So hopefully we see some beneficial coming from this, and it seems that they're high on him. So I like the fact that they're high on Zach Edey. It means that they're going to do whatever they can to make sure he's one of the best centers in the league because he really does have the potential to be a top 10 center in the league. It's just a matter of the things that he needs to work on, like speed on defense. If we got into a little bit of outlet passing, I wouldn't mind that either. That's something that could really help Edey, especially when it comes to getting a fast break out there, especially considering you have Jaren Jackson, who isn't the greatest at rebounding. So that's something that I would look towards doing right there when it comes to Zach Edey. Obviously, get a little mid-range going or whatever, get his post play up. One thing I really would like to see from Zach Edey when he comes back is how does he have the ball? One thing about Zach Edey that kind of killed him last year was he had the ball low, like very low for the shortest defender to get him. And Zach Edey's very tall, so it makes no point for him to have the ball all the way down here when he could just have it, up here or just do something with it pretty quickly. So that caused most of his turnovers, allowed a lot of double teams to come around. So hopefully we see something different this year, especially with the system that Easelo has put in place for the pick and roll, because we're going to be seeing it a lot more than we did last year when Taylor Jenkins was on the team and we saw minimal effort on that. But as soon as we saw Easelo, we saw a lot of pick and rolls, and we saw the offense build around that. So hopefully that's something that we continue to see, and it actually works out for the Grizzlies. Now, when it comes to this game, few things that I'm watching out for. Um, One, obviously the rebounds. Two, being the turnovers. We already went into detail about that last episode. Those are things that I'm looking out for because you absolutely need to win those if you're going to win the game. Another thing, perimeter defense. I need to see how often we're switching, who's leaving who open, all these kinds of things. I want to see, what are our weaknesses. If there was ever a time to point out the weaknesses, it's game number one. So hopefully you get that pointed out. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a challenge because, you have some key starters and key bench players that are going to be out. So you have to also remember that as well. Another thing I'm looking for is the pace. We've talked a lot about the pace when it comes to the Grizzlies, this fast-paced offense, this, we're going to wear you out kind of offense, just essentially taking the road to using the fast break to your ability. I want to see how that works and how effective it is, because if you're not playing defense, you don't get fast breaks. It's just that simple. I also want to see who touches the ball. Well, who is the offense running through more than John Morant? Obviously, you got John and Jaren, but who's that third option that the Grizzlies are going to lean on when they need someone to kind of step up in place of the two? You got Javon Small, who's going to be playing a vital role off the bench. You got Cedric Cowell, who's somewhat finding his groove. May even see some G.G. Jackson minutes. We may even see Kentavious Caldwell-Pope be the third piece that the Grizzlies need. Obviously, when it comes to starting lineup-wise, that's definitely a role I would see Jalen Wells. I would rather Jalen Wells be in that position, but if it's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, I'm perfectly fine by that. Another thing, bench points. Can the bench do their part? And I'm not talking about just offensively, defensively as well. The Grizzlies allow a lot of the points on the bench. So it's a matter of, can they keep it up while the starters are out? And that's really going to determine this game, because New Orleans is a deep team when they're healthy. Same thing as the Grizzlies, but it's a matter of who can do what. And if one bench outplays the other, I feel like that's going to be the outcome of this game unless Ja Morant is playing more minutes than, intended. And that's another thing I'm also going to be looking out for, the amount of minutes that Ja and Jaren are playing. Because if you know that during the Taylor Jenkins era last year, these guys are playing less than 30 minutes. And it proved to not really change much because you still had injuries and you still had things getting in the way. So I'm very interested to see how many minutes Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. play. And I feel like that's something that's going to be a tale that goes on throughout the season. But real quick, before we get out of here, just want to drop the injury report for y'all, because this is how it is going into game one. So everybody, you got essentially a full lineup, but here's who you have out. You have Brandon Clark, Zach Edey, Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Vince Williams Jr. all out today. My only problem with this, I personally think Vince Williams shouldn't be out, but it does say he has heel soreness. I don't like the look of that, but yeah, that's just the reality of it. Hopefully Vince can get back out there. I do think, excuse me, I do think that this is a make or break time for Vince. A lot of people are calling for him to be moved eventually, and it's kind of hard not to disagree with them. I mean, just being honest, Vince has not proven much over the course of the last 2 years, and it's really frightening sign when it comes to that. But I'm willing to give him a chance. But if by the trade deadline you don't see anything, I think it's time that we end the experiment when it comes to Vince Williams Jr. Now, that can be said for a lot of players. I still think about to this day how John Conchar is still on this team, but not just because of who he is, but more so because of who's on the roster and who's left compared to him. But like I said, that's a tale only time can tell. And we aren't the people to do that. That's something for the front office to decide on. But that's going to be a wrap on this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. And I can't wait for y'all to tune in on tomorrow's episode, because we're going to have a full detailed recap of the game. And I'm going to give you my first thought analysis from there. And we're going to try to make this a really good thing. So if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get the notification for when the next episode drops, and this one as well. So make sure you do it as far as the future goes, because once you're one of the first people, you really get an in-depth look of things before, the think pieces come out. But as for this edition of Grizzlies Daily, my name is Melek, and I really appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I'll be signing off. Peace.